This conference will now be recorded.
How many ways are there to create pipelines? How many ways are there to create pipelines? Hmm? Okay, one way. What if I say two ways? Okay, you are creating the pipelines and utilizing them, right? How you are creating? So what you are doing is you are just going to the pipelines, and when you try to create a pipeline, hmm, when you try to create a pipeline, YAML is the one way. Yeah, second is the. So this was an interview question. How many ways I can create pipelines? Which way you have used? Okay. I want my pipelines to run whenever there is a code change in the master branch. So how can I, like, what changes I need to make? Hmm? Okay, trigger. Next. సగమే చెప్తున్నారు ఏదండి. Enable continuous integration is the trigger that we need to enable. Okay. So once you enable on top of the branch, whenever any code is pushed into that branch, pipeline will automatically run. Okay. Next point is I have n number of folders inside that master branch. Whenever I push my code into scripts folder, I want my pipeline to run. How I can do that? If there is any change in the scripts folder, at that time, I want to make my pipeline to run. What you need to do? క్వశ్చన్ అర్థమైంది కదా. నా దగ్గర చాలా ఫోల్డర్స్ ఉన్నాయి మాస్టర్ బ్రాంచ్లో. ఎక్కడో చోట క్రియేట్ చేస్తే పైప్ లైన్ రన్ అవుతుంది. సో వేర్ ఎవర్ ఐ క్రియేట్ ఇన్ మాస్టర్ బ్రాంచ్ మై పైప్ లైన్ ఇస్ గెటింగ్ రన్నింగ్. You need to specify path filter. You need to specify path filter. I want to run my pipeline on every Saturdays and Sundays. Okay. I want my pipeline to run only if pipeline 1 is completed. Okay. If you face any technical issues, what I'll do is I'll just show you the process. Edit the pipeline, and there, which option I need to use? Build completion. Okay. I have created a variable in the pipeline variables. Can I see the same variable in other pipeline? Why? New variable. New VM. No. I created one variable in the pipelines. Can I see the same variable in another pipeline? No. Okay. If no, why? Because let me see if we get any of this. Yeah. These are pipeline specific variables. Pipeline variables are limited to only that pipeline. Okay. Now I have a scenario. I have 50 variables. I want to use this 50 variable in 50 pipelines. Are you going to use open each pipeline, add 50 variable, and then this is a big process, right? We cannot do that. So what is the next step that we are going to do? We need to create the variable groups. If you have a set of specific n number of variables that you want to use it in multiple pipelines inside the same project, then you can make use of variable groups. So first I need to define the variable groups, right? Like these are my 5 variables. Once I define, then we'll see what we can do. So if you go to variable groups, and here it is asking me, do you want to link the variable group name? First I want to define my variables, right? So first I'll go to the library. I want to define some few variables. So I want to create a new variable group. I'm going to make it as some 10 to 11. The group name is like this. Description, if you want to write it, you can write it. As of now, no. add the variables. I want to write some few variables like db password, something like welcome at 123, and I create one more server name. I'm going to keep it as dev server. These are the two variables that I need to use in each and every pipeline. At that time, what I can do is, till this point, it is fine. Just save this. I saved it. Okay. Now go to your pipelines, and I want to use those pipeline variables here. So what I need to do is, I need to go to variables, variable groups, link the variable group here. So this is the group name, right? Copy it and paste it. Link it. Once you link it, make use of the. Sai Baba, can you please keep yourself on mute? I'm keeping yourself on mute. Okay. Okay. So I was saying we created a group and we linked that group into the variable groups. Now can I use these variables? No or yes? Yes, we can use it. For example, I have a variable name called server name. Copy this. And if you go to the task in the publish artifact, I just want to get you make use of this variable and I want to see the output. So that's why what I'm going to do was, instead of drop folder, I want to use this variable name. And if it is a variable, you need to define them under dollar braces. Okay. If I execute this, what will be the output? Dev server, right? So just save this and queue this. I need to get a folder with the name called dev server. So if I get the dev server as the output, that means I created the variable in variable group. I linked that variable group into my pipeline and I use that variable here. So that means I can clearly say that my variables are working and those variables are linked to my pipelines. Now this is limited to only this pipeline or other pipeline. As of now, I linked that group to only this pipeline. Now I want to link the pipeline to the another, link that variable group to the another pipeline. Now see this, edit this. This is the second pipeline. Go to variables and variable groups. Did you link anything? No. I want to use the same variables here. You can link it. And you can save the changes in the task and like change the variable names and just run it. You will be able to use it. Understood? Okay. Till this point, it is also fine. Now, let me show you the output of the first one. This is the latest one that I have run, and I'm able to see one published artifact. See, it has received the name from that variable, right? Okay. Now tell me the difference between pipeline variables and variable groups. This was an interview question. What is the difference between pipeline variable and variable groups? Pipeline variables are limited to the specific pipeline. When it comes to variable groups, you can define the variables in a variable group library and you can link those variables to any other pipeline. Understood? Okay. I think some internet got disconnected. Missing. No. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Internet got disconnected. So what is the difference between pipeline variables and variable groups? Pipeline variables are limited to I think I'm audible right now. Okay. So the difference between pipeline variables and variable groups are like pipeline variables are limited to those pipelines. When it comes to variable groups, you can define the variables in a group and you can link these variables to the pipelines. Okay. And let's go to one more thing. Let's edit this pipeline. Now, as of now, we were discussing about the pipeline variables, right? Each and every time I run my pipeline, I'm getting a number 14, 13, 12, 14, something like this. I don't want that number. I want it to be some date so that you will be able to understand on which date I have run this pipeline, where I need to make the change. Okay. Hmm? Okay. You are correct. Build.build ID, but here we are not using that variable, right? We don't have that build.build ID here. So let's go to options. So these are some options for your pipeline. And see this. What is the build number format? I think this is the one which you need to make the change, right? And see this. If you want to have any support or help related to the build number format, you just click on the more information and see this. You can customize how your pipelines are run or numbered. The default value for the number is this. See, see this. They want to have a date. How? Year, month, and date. And what they are doing is finally they are reversing it. Rev stands for reverse. Yes, I want to use this. Dollar means a variable. Just go here, go to the build number format and mention like this. So whenever I run my build, it should take the year, month, date format like this. Okay. And after that, like these are the some normal basic things. Even in the real time, you are not going to use this. And wherever you see work items, forget about it. In the options, this is what I can see. And what is the build job timeout in minutes? I run my pipeline. It will keep on running for the last 55 minutes, 60 minutes. After that, cancel it. So the job waiting timeout is 50 minutes, 60 minutes. And build job cancel timeout in which minutes? That means what is the difference between these two? I triggered the pipeline. It is running. For the last 55 minutes, it is running. After 60 minutes, this can be cancelled. I triggered the pipeline right now. And it is still waiting for the agent. That means pipeline itself is not started. Wait for 5 minutes and then cancel it. Okay, understood. So this is how you need to specify some timeouts for your pipeline. Okay, in the options I have selected like this, right? Now I'm just going to save and queue this. Now see the number, how it comes. See, 2022 8 12. Understood. I'm not going to run this. I'm just going to cancel this because why we need to wait? Like I just want to show you only this, right? Okay, this is fine. After that, if I go to the same pipeline, I want to show you some more settings. Now tell me one scenario. You want to play PUBG. Okay. If PUBG is installed in your system, then you will be able to play. If it is not installed, will you be able to play? No. First point. Okay. I have Visual Studio installed on my system. If I try to execute some .NET code, is it going to execute or fail? It will execute. Why? Because we have the Visual Studio as the build tool. Now, if you see here, I am running n number of times my pipelines. So each and every time it is going to execute, right? For example, if I mention some Visual Studio something, that step is going to run on VM. If Visual Studio is installed on that VM, it will run, or else it is not going to run. Till this point, you are fine, right? Okay. Now I want to run on a VM which is having Visual Studio 2022. That means you are keeping what? A demand. Understood? You are giving a demand. So I want to run my code only on a VM which is having Visual Studio 2022. So let's consider in the background we have 100 VMs. In that 100 VMs, we only have 2 to 3 VMs which is having Visual Studio 2022. Okay. At that time, is it going to look for the other 97 computers? No. Directly it will go to those three VMs. It won't even look for the 90 other 97. Understood the question? So directly you are specifying some demands. So if you want to specify some demands for your pipeline, you can mention like this. For example, I have two VMs. In the two VMs, I have Visual Studio 2017, Visual Studio 2019. I want my pipeline to run only on Visual Studio 2019. So it is going to which VM? The second VM. Directly the request will go to second VM. How it is going to go? Because you have specified demands. So if you meet these demands, then go to that VM. Okay. For example, take something like this. I have three VMs. In the three VMs, I have installed Visual Studio 2022, 2017, 2019. Now I am trying to run Java application. Is it going to work on any of the VMs? No. Why? Because Java, whether if Java is installed, it is going to run. If not installed, immediately it is going to say that it doesn't meet the tools and capabilities. Let's take one more example. In one VM, I have Visual Studio 2017, 2019. In another VM, I have Visual Studio 2022. I want to execute this pipeline on a VM which is having 2017 and 2019. So directly the request will go to where? First VM. So if you want to specify those kind of conditions, you can specify. So I want some Maven to be already installed. What is the version of the value? Like if you want to specify, you can specify. These are called as demands. Specify which capabilities the agent must have to run this pipeline. Understood? In real time, they are going to ask you a question like, I have n number of VMs. In that n number of VMs, like n in the sense, let's consider 10. I have 10 VMs. In that only one VM, I need to execute my pipeline. Then what I can do? You need to specify demands. So that VM should be having a OS as Linux. The VM should be having some Visual Studio as 2017. Like this, you need to specify the demands. They are going to ask you the question like this. I have n number of VMs, but I want my pipeline to run only on a specific VM. So you need to specify demands. Okay, this was an interview question. Okay, till this point it is fine. In options, you won't get much information on this. See, the new build request is processing. Enable. If one build is getting triggered, so just to try to wait in the queue. Paused. Queue new builds but do not start. So if whenever if you try to build a new, if whenever if you try to run a new pipeline, pause for it. And what happens when you keep it as pass? Queue new builds but do not start. It will be under queue but it will never start. If you keep it as disabled, do not queue new builds. New builds are not going to be even waiting in the queue. Nobody makes this. Everything it will be enabled in the real time. So these are some like options. If you want to make use of this, you can use. Okay. Now that let's come to task itself. So again, I want to add one more task. Each and every time I am going to run the pipeline, what happens? It is going to give one new VM for me, fresh VM, and after that it is going to delete. I want to know the name of that VM. How can you find it? Understood the question? For example, if I take my command line here, if I do host name, see what it gives. It gives my host name, laptop name. Where you can find it? If you go to my computer, so just right click on this, go to properties. Here you will be able to see your computer name. That is laptop something like this, device name. Like the same way, a fresh VM will be generated whenever I run the pipeline, right? I want to know the name of that device name. So what I need to do? Tell me from pipelines what I can do. Okay, add. Okay, before adding, I just want to disable these because to run this again it will take some time. So that's why I'm just disabling this. You want to add which task? Command. Yes, I command line, add it. So just Here, what you need to do? What is the command that I need to enter? Name, host name. So this is the host name that you need to run. So once if you run this, see what happens. You just need to save and queue. I'm just trying to show you how you can utilize the task to get whatever you require. Okay. So say this. For example, some files are stored in D drive and you want to move it into E drive. And once after move it, you want to publish it. What you can do? Copy the files from D and keep it in E. And then after that, whatever you stored in the E, publish it as a build artifact. And see this step is succeeded, and see this is the name of that VM. Okay, this is fine. Now I have another question. If I want to find out the IP address of my Windows operating system, what is the command that I can give? Ipconfig. If the operating system of my VM is Linux, then what I need to do? What is the command to find the IP address? Ifconfig. If I use ifconfig, see what is the error? It doesn't, like, whenever you see this error, understand it. It is not recognized as an internal or external command. That means this command itself it is not able to understand. So in Linux machines, if you want to find out the IP address, you need to use ifconfig. If it is in Windows, ipconfig. Okay. Now what I will do is, do I have the Linux operating system right now? No. What I will do is the better thing. I'll just disable this task and I will create, or else say take the same task. Enable the task. Along with the host name, I want to find the IP address. If config. Now, if I just save and queue, it is going to run in which operating system? Windows, Linux, or anything? Windows. How? Because if you go to the pipelines, here in the agent specification, you specified as Windows. So that means your pipeline is going to run on Windows only. Now, I want to take the Ubuntu latest version. Now just save and queue. You will be having that option again here also. Save and run. So once I do this, what happens? This command is going to be executed on a Ubuntu operating system. Like Linux, like Linux is like Linux is a family. In that Ubuntu, CentOS, all this comes under that family. And see this command got executed. So just open this. So still the post job checkout is going to happen. So let's wait for it. Understood, right? Why we are doing all these things? Just want to make sure like where you are running the pipeline. Now you understood, like whenever I'm trying to run the pipeline, it is running on a VM. Okay, who is giving you the VM to run your pipeline? Microsoft is going to give you the VM to run the pipelines. Now there is a scenario where you don't want to run any pipelines on a Microsoft VM. You have your own VM. You have your own VM, and you want to execute these pipelines on that VM. Is it possible or not? What do you think? You want to keep your own VM to execute the pipeline task. Is it possible or not possible? See, I have used if config. So that's why I'm able to see all the IP addresses. Understood? So this is the host name. Understood? Okay. As of now, whenever you are running the pipelines, it is running on a VM, you know that. And who is giving you the VM? Windows operator, like Microsoft is giving you the VM. I don't want to run my pipelines on a VM that is given by Microsoft. I want to run my pipelines on my own VM. Is it possible or not possible? Yes, it is possible. Then what do you call that? It is called as self-hosted agent. self-hosted agent. Where can you see that information? So let's go to the pipelines. And if you go to the edit pipeline, there you can see you are taking a pool. What do you mean by pool? First, let me tell you this. This is one VM. This is another VM. And this is another VM. And this is four VMs. These four VMs, I want to, whenever I run the pipeline, what happening is I'm just running on one VM. If this is getting busy, I want the pipeline to be executed on this VM. Whenever I give a new request, the new request go to the second VM. If this is busy, I want the third one to, like, I want the pipeline to go to the third one. Basically, how the request goes to these different VMs. First, what I will do is I will keep everything in a pool. This is called as agent pool. Inside the agent pool, what do you have? Agents. Those VMs are nothing but your agents. So I will give the request to the agent pool first. I give the request to the agent pool. If this VM is not there, or if this VM is busy, the request will go to this VM. If it is busy, if it will go to this. If everything is busy, it will be under queue. Understood? Like this, where I am giving the request to the agent pool. The agent pool will decide to which VM I need to send the request. Okay. Like here, that is the same option here. So in the pipelines, I have specified one agent pool, and if you see, it is hosted agent. That means Microsoft is giving you the VM to run the pipelines. And if I want that pipeline to run on my VM, like a custom VM, then I need to make it as a private. This private is called as self-hosted agent. Understood the difference between hosted agent and self-hosted agent? Okay. As of now, you are running hosted or self-hosted? Hosted agent. Okay. In real time also, most probably will use hosted only, but sometimes you might be using self-hosted. Okay. Okay. Till this point, it is fine. And now, one more thing. Like I used to create n number of tasks and change something in these pipelines, right? I want to know who made the changes. If you go to the history, there you can find who made what changes. See, compare the differences. So he updated something. What he has updated. In the left side, it is the old one, which is showing in the red color. In the right side, it is the latest one, green color. What it is changed? Revision 12 and it is revision 13. Some by default, some IDs are going to be generated for you. And if not that, wherever you see the red line, so just click on there. There you will be seeing. Earlier it is hostname. Right now I have written along with the hostname, I have written IP if config. Go here. Earlier I have taken Windows 2019. Now Ubuntu latest. You are able to see the history, right? So if you want to find out the difference, like whoever has made the changes in the pipeline, by going into the history, you can find the differences. And what is this code? Who generated it? By default, it is generated. And what language it is? It's a JSON. JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. It's a JSON format. Do you need to write this JSON? No. By default, it will be generated. All you need to do is just understand it. If you, for you, this might be as you are looking at it for fresh, right? You won't be able to understand anything, but if you keep on looking into the options, you'll understand it very easily. JSON will be very easy to understand. Okay, now I have one more question. Yeah, so till this point it is fine. Now what I want to do is, I'm not satisfied, like whatever the task that I want to perform, it will be inside here or not? Yes, I have a separate task and I am not able to see the task here. What is the next step? Understood? Now, my manager asked me to look for octopus deploy. This is a task which can be used for making deployments. Just understand it this way. Like if you want to build and release, you can make use of Octopus. This is a third party one. Okay. Now I want my manager asked me to include this Octopus step. But if you go here, do we have add option? No. It is saying that get it for free. So that means from somewhere I need to get this. If you have if you don't have whatever the task that you want to perform, so from where you need to get that? You need like take an example as your mobile. You want to download something. From where you are going to get that? Play Store. Like the same way, it is a marketplace. In Azure DevOps, it is a marketplace. So just click on get it for free. See where it is going to take you. Marketplace.visualstudio.com. And see, it's an Octopus deploy integration and it is for free. If you click it for free, what happens is that extension is like this is an extension. This extension is going to be installed into the organization level. So if you do get it for free, what happens is it is going to ask you, where do you want me to install, on which organization you want me to install. In my Azure DevOps, I have only for Hemant Reddy. So that Hemant Reddy organization install this. Okay, and in the down below you can see that Azure DevOps server. That is like if you are maintaining the Azure DevOps server itself, then you need to take care of that. That's a different one. As of now, we are doing only for the cloud itself. See, proceed to the organization. And if you want to go to like, see in this organization level, I have installed which step? Octopus. Now come back to the pipeline and so this is the like let me just keep this inside these tabs. Yeah. Now that I have get it for free, I have done. Just refresh it. And Octopus. See now I'm able to see all the steps, right? Now I'm able to add the steps also. Like this, if whatever the task that you want to achieve, if you are not able to find by default here, then you need to go to that Visual Studio Marketplace and then you need to install it on top of the organization level. Okay. Mistakenly, I have installed this. See, in Play Store also there will be a number of games. Are there are they authorized games? No. There will be some fake things also will be there. Like that, I have a doubt whether this is the fake one. That is the first point. And second point, my organization will not allow me to install anything from the marketplace, but I have installed it. I need to delete it, right? So where I need to delete it? Go to your organization. So where you have installed this on the organization level or project level? Go to organization level. If you go to extensions here, this is where you can see the installed extensions. I haven't discussed earlier about this. So this is why. So this is where you have installed the extensions. And let's see requested. Why we need requested? For example, I have made you as a contributor and I am a DevOps administrator for this project. As a contributor, will you be able to install any software? Not possible. So whenever you try to get it for free, that request will be coming into here. As a DevOps administrator, I will see the request and I will approve it. Then what happens? That extension is going to be installed. And if you want to share this also you can do this. But as of now, nobody will share it. Okay. Even if you directly want to go to the marketplace, from here you can go and you can look for any kind of extensions that you require. Okay. See, all these are extensions. There will be a number of things. And see this. This is the author. Microsoft itself has provided one extension. If you want to use the authorized extensions, then you can use it. But your organization will not support something like this person has created
Okay.
it. It is not going to accept it.
Okay. Yeah, tell me.
Okay. So this is the marketplace. This is fine. Now one more question. Yeah, here Rashmi, are you trying to ask something?
No, I mean, this posted up.
Yeah, can you keep yourself on mute? Yeah, thanks. Okay, this is the main use of extensions. Now, I'll show you one more extension which will be used. Let's consider a scenario. I have like in the real time, what are the different environments that we used to have? Environments. Name any environments. For example, first, I am going to start a new application like IRCTC, Redbus, or anything. Let's take Redbus. Directly, I am going to write the application and send it to the public. No. First, who will write the code? The developers will write. Where they will test it in the dev environment. This is called as dev environment. And once the dev environment is done, what they need to do, the QA people, that means the QC, quality check or the testers, they need to test this application. This is called as QA. Quality analysis or quality check, QA or QC, anything. Who will be using this environment? Testers are going to use this. There will be one more environment called production. Who will be using this environment? The outside people, the world. So this will be used by real users. Now you understand the different kind of environments, right? Dev, QA, prod. In some companies it will be dev, QA, prod, but in some other companies they will maintain four or five environments: dev, QA, UAT, prod. These are four: dev, QA, UAT, pre-prod, prod. Understood? Pre-prod means before pushing it anything to the prod, I want to check it. That's why I make it prod. For example, take this. Now tell me one thing. In the development environment, I have a VM. In this VM, I have 8 GB of RAM and 150 GB of hard disk. Okay, this is only used by developers. Like I'm just trying to tell you one thing. So this is used in development environment, right? So I have a VM. In that VM, I have 8 GB RAM and 150 GB hard disk. And in the second QA environment, I have one more VM, and in that VM, I maintain 4 GB of RAM, 4 GB of RAM, and 120 of hard disk. HDD stands for hard disk drive. In the production, everybody uses it, right? So that's why I keep 16 GB of RAM, and I'm going to keep it as like a 200 GB hard disk. In real time, are you going to make these kind of configurations, or you will maintain the same configuration? Hmm? What do you think? You understood the point, right? In dev environment, only developers are going to use. That's why I kept only 8 GB RAM and 150 hard disk. In QA environment, I'm going to like this will be used by only testers. For them, this is enough, right? 4 GB RAM and 120 hard disk. But in production, I kept 16 GB RAM and 200 hard disk space. Are you going to maintain like this, or are you going to maintain the same configuration? Why you are maintaining the same configuration in all the environments?
When going outside, everyone does not have the same configuration. Means we have 16 GB RAM and 200 HP.
Hmm.
And outside, everyone does not have the same configuration.
It's not like that. See, the developers have written the code and they have put the configuration like this, and they moved the same application to this one. Since it is 8 GB RAM, the performance will be very fast here. So the application they will be used to, like for example, they have developed one redbus.com. If it is 8 GB of RAM, they will be able to get that application very fast. If you run the same kind of application in 4 GB RAM, it will take 20 seconds, right? In dev, if it is 10 seconds, in QA it is going to take 20 seconds. But in production, 5 seconds. Is this going to give you any kind of a good impression? No. If I want to run any application, what I need to do is from starting from the dev environment to the production environment, I need to have the same configuration. If in the dev environment, if it is taking 10 seconds, I can clearly say that in the production also it will take 10 seconds because same configuration. Understood? For example, in QA environment, for example, in dev environment, if it is taking 20 seconds, I'm sure that in production also it will take the 20 seconds because same kind of configuration. So that's why what they do in the real time is for each and every environment, they make the same configuration. Why? Because in the dev environment, if the application is performing this time, if the dev environment, if the application is taking this much time, in the production also it will take the same time. Understood? So this is how they are going to make the configuration for each and every environment same. If they maintain 4 GB here, if they maintain 16 GB here, if it in the 4 GB, if it is taking 30 seconds, they cannot calculate each and every time, right? Okay, here it should take 4 by something, something. They cannot calculate it, right? So that's why the configuration should be always maintained the same. Okay. Here, I have one more thing. Here, I have one storage account. First, when I'm creating the application, first I require one service. It's called storage. I created it in the dev environment. Once after testing and everything, like once after creation and whether the once the developer is done with the testing, what they used to do is whatever the environment that we have, whatever the resources that we have in this environment, the same things the same kind of resources can be replicated to the other environments. Whatever I create here, the same things will be created in the QA production also. Directly, nobody is going to create dev QA UAT prod. First, they will create dev. Once they are okay with the dev, then they will go with the QA and UAT. Once they are okay with the dev QA and UAT, then they will go with the production. Okay. Till this point, it is fine. Now, let's come to our DevOps part. You are writing the code, right? You are writing the code for which environment? So let's consider you are writing the code first time you are writing the code for dev environment. It is working. And after that again you going to write the code for QA? After that again you are going to change the code for production? You are writing a standard code which will be suitable for all the environments. I am saying that you are writing a code which will be suitable for all the environments. Okay. There is one code which needs to be published onto all the environments. But you might get a doubt. This is in Central US, this is in East US, and this is in India. Let's consider like this, or else consider simple way. Here I am using for development. I am using development server. For QA, I need to use QA server, right? For production, I need to use production server. The server names will be different, right? At that time, what you are going to change? What you are going to do? At that time, what I'm going to do was I need to maintain all the configuration in a single file. That file is going to be like app setting.json, web.config, configuration kind of things. I'll maintain all of them in a single file. And when I'm trying to make deployments from one environment to another environment, I'm going to substitute the values. Understood? Let me just put it this way. env is equals to something. As of now, I just kept it as empty. When I am deploying, let's consider this is a web.config file. Web.config file. This is a file, web.configuration file. First, I am writing this for which environment? Let's consider first I am deploying this onto dev environment. So in the environment, the value is going to be dev. If I am deploying the same configuration into the QA, the value what it happens is it is going to be QA. This dev will be removed and QA will be pasted. And if I am doing it for production, it comes as prod, right? Now tell me, how does it know if I'm making deployments to the production, out of these three values, why it is only taking prod? Understood? Like, okay. ఇప్పుడు మీ దగ్గర త్రీ ఉన్నాయి environments, dev, QA, prod ఉన్నాయి. When I am deploying web.config, first, if I am deploying into dev, automatically out of dev, QA, prod, it is taking dev. How it is taking? It should take QA also, right? Why it is taking only dev? That means we are scoping the values. Scoping. When we are making deployments to dev, scope the value to this. When you are deploying it to the QA, scope the value to this. Scoping the values. Okay, you'll understand this later on. So as of now, just try to understand. I am writing the same code and deploying it on top of a different environments. How the values are going to get changed is because of the variable substitutions. If I have the variable in the name called env, when I am deploying it on top of dev environment, it will take dev. How it is taking? Because we scoped that value to the environment. Okay, let's take this. Which one? This one we are using. Hmm. Let me see if there are any messages. 11:12. He has made as instruction at your answer. Am I still like? Am I audible clear right now? I think still no. Is it audible? Now fine. Okay. So if you face any issues when like if you face any issues, just unmute yourself and try to speak so that I can understand. I think it was issue with the specific person. Hmm. Might be. Yeah. Okay. So just go to the pipelines, and this is my pipeline. As of now, I was saying that there will be different environments, and based upon the environment, you are going to change the variables. Like first, let me do the manual process. I'm writing the code for which one? For one environment first, and the same code will be deployed to another environments by changing the values. Now that I am saying that, okay, if I have the file in dev environment, it should take dev value. If I place that to QA, then it should take the value as QA. How you need to do that? So take a task called variable substitution. Variable substitution, like we used to have a task called substitution. Substitute the variables. Apply variable substitution to JSON and YAML files. By using this, what you can do is you need to get it for free, and by doing this, you will be able to substitute the values. If you have the file and from environment to environment, you want to change the values. That's why we use variable substitution task. And also we can make use of file transform task. This also can be used to substitute the variables. File transformation. Also, this can be used to replace the tokens with the variable values in XML files or JSON files, any kind of file it might be. If you want to substitute the values, you can make use of this file transform also. This is also going to be very important. Now tell me whether I need to use it in CI pipeline or CD pipeline. First, let's discuss what is CI. If you remember, I clearly used to tell like CI is all about what we have done is taking the code, building it, and if you have Visual Studio test plans, then you test it, and finally what you make it as, you make it as a package. CI means continuous integration. Continuous integration is all about taking the code, building it, testing it, and finally making it as a package. Till the package it is done. Now let's discuss about CD. CD stands for continuous deployment or continuous delivery. There is a difference between these two, but as of now understand it as like continuous deployment. Whatever the package that I have achieved from the CI pipeline, take that package and deploy it on top of a dev environment. And then whatever the package that I have achieved, take that package and deploy it on top of a QA. What you are doing? Just deploying it. That is all about CD. Now tell me variable substitution task where it is required, CA or CD? What do you think? In CA pipeline we need to use this task, or in CA CD pipeline? Hmm? What do you guys think? He is saying as CD. Yes, that is correct. Because in CI pipeline, all you are doing is just making it as a package. But in CD pipeline, you are deploying it to multiple environments, right? While you are deploying, the variable needs to be substituted. So that's why you need to use this task in CD pipeline. Okay. Now till this point, it is fine. So whatever the task that I have showed you, these are very basic tasks and these are very essential in the real time. How many tasks we have used copy files, archive, command line, and right now in my local system I have PowerShell. Can I have the same kind of PowerShell in the pipeline task? Yes, you have. It completely depends upon your requirement, like how you want to use it in the real time. You get tool installer, MS build, Visual Studio build, or these are different kind of tasks. Okay, now let's consider whatever that I want to achieve. I have got the package. This is fine for me. I have written the code and I am able to run the pipeline, build it and test it, and finally I am able to make the package ready. Now I want to deploy this package on top of some server so that anyone in the world will be able to access that application. As of now, what I'm doing, I'm just writing the code. What code I'm writing? Let's consider it's a .NET application. This application will be should be available to all over the world. If I just keep it here, is it going to be available for everyone? No. I want to take this package and deploy it on top of the server. So once anybody tries to browse that server, they will be able to get that application on their system. Now, let's take one more step. Package is ready. We have the code and the package is ready. Now we want to deploy it on top of some server, right? Basically, where you can deploy these packages. Earlier, what they used to do was they used to create a VM with some configuration like 24 GB of RAM and 1000 GB of hard disk or something, and they are going to have a connectivity like what they used to do was, let's consider we do not have any cloud, we have some virtual machine. I'm saying simple like virtual machine. Earlier it was like something they used to call it as like virtual machines. They used to call it as some word is there which I'm not like by using Oracle VM box. They used to create some machines. See, right now, if you want to get any kind of a virtual machine with any operating system, it is just 1 minute for us. But in earlier, what they used to do, let's consider this is my system. In this system, I want to use operating system as called Linux. We do not have any cloud right now. What I am going to do, I am going to completely delete this OS and install Linux on top of it and then use it. After 1 day or 10 days, again I want to use Windows. Again, delete this window, delete this, and again install a Windows. This was a very big process earlier. At that time, what I have done was, like I went into the Google and I searched for something. What I'm able to see was there is a software called Oracle VM Box. Oracle VM Box. Like what it does is you can create a VM. You can create a VM inside your own system with any kind of operating system that is loaded. So what you can do is, let's consider you have 1000 GB of 1 TB hard disk. 500 GB I'm going to keep it for Windows operating system. 500 GB I'm going to keep it for Linux operating system. 16 GB RAM I have. 8 GB for one, 8 GB for another. Like this I used to create n number like this I used to create one VM from it. For example, I want 10 virtual machines which should be having 888 GB like this, or 4 GB each one. First, I need to install somewhere around 40 GB of RAM in my system, and then I can break down it into multiple parts, right? Is it going to make you a lot of cost or not? Yes. So to remove all these problems, what they have done is they come up with a cloud plan. So basically, Microsoft AWS on what all these people are doing was they will be having n number of resources with them. They will be having 1000 GB of RAM or something. Whenever whatever you want to create, you can create them and you can utilize them. And once if you are done with it, you can delete them. You are just renting the services. That's it. Okay. Now earlier they used to create the VM, and on top of the VM they used to run their application. Before explaining this process, I want you to show you an easy process. This like first I need to create a VM in my local system, and then I need to host the application on top of it. Like this is a big process. Nobody wants to do it right now, and nobody is doing right now. Now what I want is, instead of local virtual machine, I'm going to create the virtual machine from Azure. That is one point. Before doing that, I will tell you a easy process to host your application. That is called as a service, app service. Why we use app services? To host your application, we need a service. That service is called app service. Either it may be Java application, PHP, Ruby, .NET Core, anything. To run your application, we need a service. That service is called app service. That's what in technical terms we used to call it as, to host your application, we need a platform. That platform is called app service. Who will be giving you that app service? Microsoft Azure. Microsoft Azure only is going to give you all the infrastructure for you to run your application. Now app service is required for Mirate, that is an infrastructure. Who is going to give you the infrastructure? AWS, Azure, GCP, all these are like providers who are going to give you the infrastructure to run your application. So by coming Monday, what we do was, we can create an Azure portal. So do not think that the DevOps is over right away. Still we have DevOps part, but as of now, I just want you to see how we can make a deployment to Azure. Okay. So coming Monday, we'll see how we need to do that, and I will show you the process of how to create it on Monday itself, because if you try to create it for today, 2 days will be gone. So Microsoft Azure is going to give you 14,400 rupees to practice it, and it is valid for 28 days. Even if you try to use the complete amount or not, after 28 days it will be disabled. The free subscription will be disabled, and after that, still if you want to use, even if the money is gone, you need to pay the amount. That subscription is called as pay as you go. So pay for whatever you use. Okay, so we'll see that on Monday. So till this point, any doubts? Okay, so what I was trying to explain was, you already written the code, you built it, and you tested it, and you made it as a package. So let's complete the cycle first. How you can deploy it on top of a server, and how you can browse your application. This is what I just want to show you in a single phase. Okay, and after that, again we will be coming back to the DevOps part. Again we used to make some changes. Again we used to go to the portal. Okay, so from Monday we see portal for some time, not all the time. Still we will be sticking with only the DevOps part, but only for some time we will see portal. Okay,